applications in the future of let's say mobile, we still need to look at what we have invested in the existing services. Thank you.
The purpose of the European policy is not to protect incumbents, is to make the most efficient use of spectrum. I hope there is a broad agreement on this in this room, but let's move to the next.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Hans Bourgogne. I'm from the Police Netherlands, working on public safety cooperation on a European level. What we foresee is a growing need for mission-critical mobile data communication to serve the public better. But we need frequencies to be able to realize a reliable solution. Last year, the 27 European police and justice ministers agreed on a Council recommendation on the need for harmonized spectrum for mobile data communication. Also, there is a statement from 18 countries last month supporting the need for extra frequencies for public safety. I have copies for me for both documents for those who are interested. What I would like to ask the Parliament is to help the emergency services to achieve more dedicated spectrum for our tasks. Harmonization is vital for us. We are cooperating of course, with the CEPT, but we would also like to ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not going to do any comments now from the side of Parliament because we have more people asking for the floor, and that's more important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, have you control which one is
Someone
first?
from Bosch who usually have good stories.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Ja, ich möchte die Aufmerksamkeit des
I would like to draw the attention of everyone here to an application where if the ITU norms are not being respected, it would have more of a subsidiary role, but is something which is in daily use and something which you all use, but is largely overlooked. I'm talking about short-range devices here, because in Europe, in digital Europe, a lot of use is made of these, and my company actually has a high turnover for this sort of product. The European Commission has now recognized the importance of this sector and talked about smart metering, e-hertz, e-safety, smart home and home automation. Those are the various things which we could not any longer do without. And in fact, this sector is growing exponentially. But the frequency management organizations do not pay sufficient attention to the importance of this. The turnover is several million annually in Europe, so it shouldn't be forgotten in this way.
Adrian Grilly from the Joint Radio Company in the United Kingdom. We are the radio spectrum managers for the gas and electricity distribution and transmission sector. I'm also chairman of the Federation of Communication Services in the UK, and we have a critical national infrastructure group which has transportation, buses and railways. We have the emergency services represented and the utilities. We're concerned that in all these industries we need to have increased access to radio spectrum to protect our way of life. In general, we have only small allocations of spectrum, but they are absolutely crucial to maintain the Western society in which we live. Electricity is a prime example. Without electricity, the broadband technologies in broadcasting are largely useless. So we're quite keen that as we move forward that we have access to radio spectrum. In particular, some of our agendas are driven from outside. We obviously have examples of the Copenhagen agreements. We have the European 2020 policy to introduce 20% renewables by 2020. Although we use a lot of commercial services and we have a lot of fibre, we can only deliver these European policy objectives if we can have access to spectrum. Also, from the utility sector in particular, a harmonised European market is good for us. We can buy cheaper products, they can be sourced throughout the community, and a launch pad for the UK. So again, I put in the plea for some of these small services which only use a bit of the spectrum but are absolutely vital to our way of life. Thank you.
Next, please, will you see which was the next?
Oh, hello, Henry Parker from Intellect with the UK Trade Association for the Technology Sector. I just wanted to draw attention to one point which I think Mr. Lambert's made around the way in which the military currently uses spectrum and the public sector, and draw attention to what's going on in the UK around that, because I think Europe could learn lessons from that. You may be aware that in 2005 we had a major policy review in the UK, which was called the CAVE review.
Can you just speak a little bit with more distance from the micro? Maybe
Sure.
it's better. You know.
Apologies. I just wanted to draw attention to a major initiative that we had in the UK in 2005, which was called the CAVE Review, which looked at the way in which the military use spectrum, and some actions that have taken place recently as well around auditing the way the military use spectrum to work out where exactly they are using it heavily and where they're not. And we're currently seeing the rollout of a major release of spectrum which the military have decided, and working with government, that that can be released to the market. Now the value of those holdings would be massively increased if there was a harmonised approach across Europe between governments, looking at the way in which, I guess it could just be military, but other public sector bodies as well, are currently using their spectrum, and whether the same auditing approach could be followed, so that potentially you could have a mass release of public sector spectrum using the approach and lessons learned in the UK around that. Because I think it's 40% of the bandwidth in the UK is held by the military. So I'll just finish with that.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Vincent Sneed, and I'm here on behalf of the Association of European Radios. We represent more than 4,500 commercially funded radio stations from all across Europe. To be very concrete and short with regard to spectrum management, we have three main points. First, commercially funded radios need guaranteed access to spectrum in all bands as negotiated and planned in the ITU. Regulation must be tailored to local needs in order to allow the best possible development for the radio sector. Second, no universal switch-off date for analog radio services can currently be envisaged, and decisions on standards to be used for digital broadcasting of radio services should be left to the industry on a country-by-country basis. Third, and lastly, any shift towards digital broadcasting of radio will most likely take a long process, and decision on the adequate time frame should be left to each national industry. As a matter of principle, transition to an improved digital broadcasting system should benefit from a long time frame unless there is industry agreement to move at a faster rate. I remain available for further explanation and invite you to consult our position papers on our website, aereurope.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alexander List, representing the Open Spectrum Alliance. We might not be a usual suspect, so I quickly explain who we are. We are an NGO formed in May 2009 in Vienna, Austria, by a group of individuals engaged in radio spectrum policy reform efforts and in the creation of community networks. As declared in our mission statement, our aim is to unlock the potential benefits of bandwidth for all by promoting innovative public policies. We also have a position paper that is available at the entrance, and let me present some important points. We encourage the EU decision makers to be bold and think out of the box. I have heard several times by previous speakers that spectrum is a scarce resource. Well, this is only true if one only considers the frequency. Spectrum can also be shared based on time and space-time